Sicario 3 just got an update from the producers. MovieWeb recently caught up with Thunder Road Films' lead partners Basil Iwanek and Erica Lee to talk about the 10th anniversary of their hit film, John Wick. But they also touched on the potential third movie in the Sicario franchise. Lee shared, "We're trying to figure out what the storyline is that warrants a third movie. We'd love to make one, and I think the actors would be on board. We just need to figure out what the next chapter looks like." She went on to say, "We're talking about it a lot, thinking and discussing it. I love those movies. They mean a lot to me. It's such an amazing franchise. Denis Villeneuve set the bar so high, and the actors have all gone on to do incredible things. Taylor Sheridan has built the Taylorverse, so we need to figure out what makes sense to bring everyone back. The hope is to get all three actors back in an ideal world." Basil Iwanek shares the same sentiment as Lee, adding more context to the challenge of bringing Sicario 3 to life. He explains that the cast and crew have become so successful and in demand that it's tough to get everyone in the same room at once. Iwanek continued, "But that is a big mandate for the company, and a big mandate for the other production company behind Sicario, Black Label Media, is to get a script right. Whether that can exist without Taylor and Denis? Obviously, Denis didn't do the second one, Day of the Soldado, and Stefano Sollima did a great job. Denis is one of the great directors working in Hollywood, obviously, and Taylor Sheridan has become Taylor Sheridan. But of course, we'd love to have them all back, but that's assuming that's going to happen. And frankly, what we're trying to figure out at this point is just to get a script that's good enough to get everybody excited about it." I really hope they nail the script soon, because Sicario Day of the Soldado had some big twists and set up a lot of interesting things for the future. After a domestic attack, the U.S. labels drug cartels as terrorist groups. Josh Brolin's Matt Graver and Benicio del Toro's Alejandro Gillick kidnapped the daughter of Carlos Reyes, a cartel leader, planning to make it look like a rival gang did it. But things go wrong, leading to the crazy ending of Sicario 2. Like the first Sicario, the sequel dives into the complex realities of the war on drugs, showing its flaws and the blurred line between good and bad. It's a tense, brutal thriller for most of the movie, but the ending really leaves you with a lot of new questions and some surprising moments. So why does Matt save Isabela? Well, it all comes down to the complex relationship he has with Alejandro and the guilt he feels after his death. In Sicario 2, Matt is tasked with cleaning up the mess after Alejandro activates a tracking beacon, expecting rescue, but instead putting himself and Isabela in danger. Matt's job is to eliminate both of them, and he leads a task force to do so. But when Alejandro is killed after crossing paths with a new smuggler, it's both a relief and a horror for Matt. He had struggled with the order to kill Alejandro because of their close working relationship and the fact he had called Alejandro in to begin with. With Alejandro's death, Matt is free from that burden, but it's still a tough loss for him. So when Matt reaches Isabela, instead of killing her, he spares her life. It's a moment of unexpected compassion, driven by his guilt over Alejandro's death. For a guy like Matt, who's been all about doing what needs to be done, no matter the morality, this shift feels like a big change. Isabela, on the other hand, goes through a serious transformation. She starts off as a tough, privileged teenager, but once her father's protection is gone, she's suddenly vulnerable. As she becomes more aware of the danger around her, especially with the U.S. government involved, she realizes her life is fragile. By the end of Sicario 2, after Matt saves her, he puts her into witness protection. While this is a sign of Matt's own moral shift, it also highlights Isabela's powerlessness, as she's just another pawn in the drug war, much like the immigrants the cartels exploit. This dynamic could definitely be explored further in Sicario 3. In Sicario 2, Matt's tactics take a serious hit. The first film showed the moral and legal gray areas of the CIA's operations, with Emily Blunt's Kate Mercer caught in the middle. In the sequel, with Kate gone and Matt in charge, the focus shifts to knowledge and the messy behind-the-scenes manipulation of cartel power. But things fall apart when the public catches wind of the failed mission, and the president loses confidence. This makes clear how fragile the U.S.'s brute force approach to international relations is once it's exposed beyond the dark rooms where decisions are made. Sicario 2 shows the real-world consequences when such tactics go wrong, making the political fallout impossible to ignore. If Denis Villeneuve returns for Sicario 3, it'd be interesting to see how the story tackles the fallout and the next steps in dealing with the situation. As for Alejandro, Sicario 2 shows signs of him changing by the end. The shock of his presumed death after being shot by Miguel Hernandez, a smuggler introduced earlier in the film, turns out to be a close call. Miguel seemingly spares him, only wounding him seriously, which raises the question of whether Alejandro has become a man he's been hunting all along. In the first film, his sole focus was revenge on Fausto Alarcón for murdering his family, and in doing so, he killed Alarcón's family as well. But in Sicario 2, he's starting to doubt whether he's becoming the very monster he's been chasing. By the end, with the CIA thinking he's dead, Alejandro is truly free, able to operate without oversight, leaving his future actions uncertain. At the end of Sicario 2, the final scene presents a lot of ambiguity when it comes to Alejandro and Miguel. 1 year after the events of the film, Miguel has fully embraced his role in the gang, but when Alejandro confronts him, there's no sign of revenge. Instead, Alejandro simply asks if Miguel wants to be a Sicario, implying that he might be offering him a chance to learn from him. The implication here is that Alejandro sees some potential in Miguel, not for revenge, but as a possible apprentice. This moment is more about compassion than punishment, signaling that Alejandro may see himself in Miguel, someone who's willing to defy authority but is still searching for a place in the world, much like Alejandro has done throughout the series. The ending also sets up the possibility for Sicario 3, where Alejandro could take on an apprentice, potentially using Miguel to infiltrate the cartel from within. This opens the door for more action, as Alejandro now operates independently, but this also puts him on a collision course with authorities, making his future actions unpredictable. What really makes Sicario 3 interesting is the potential return of Kate Mercer, with Emily Blunt's character likely rejoining the story. The producers have expressed interest in bringing her back, and the film's narrative seems to demand it. In Sicario 2, Matt struggles with his role in the drug war, much like Kate did in the first film. Their ideological shift brings them closer than they ever anticipated, and it'll be interesting to see how their dynamic evolves in a potential third film. The clash, or partnership between Kate's idealism, Matt's morally questionable tactics, and Alejandro's ruthless methods would set the stage for a dramatic and complex continuation of the story. Well, that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this and other exciting upcoming movies. We'll see you next time.